Over the weekend, Turning Point USA held their annual America Fest, and what is typically supposed to be this display of unity within MAGA that projects a strong movement with a bright future, instead turned into a bizarre fever dream of a weekend full of pyrotechnics, Freudian slips, Nicki Minaj, outright grifting, and infighting from start to finish that shows how hollow the American conservative movement has become over the past year under Donald Trump. And there is no shortage of things to talk about here in terms of just how bizarre it was truly the entire time. But I think let's kick it off strong and see what Nicki Minaj's intro looked like before she came out to praise MAGA and praise the president. Let's take a look.
Please welcome Nicki Minaj.
Now, what's so fascinating about all of this to me is people in these like right-wing conservative circles always love to rail on celebrities and Hollywood and people that they view as part of the left. And they like to claim, conservatism is this sort of anti-culture, anti-celebrity, counterculture movement. And I think what's so interesting about something like this is when Nicki Minaj comes to something like this and Turning Point USA tries to book them for a weekend conference like this, it just so shows you how badly all of these conservatives actually just want celebrities to join them and embrace their world vision at the end of the day. It has nothing to do with actually disliking celebrity. The minute that any of these people seem vulnerable enough for the MAGA movement to pull them in, they do it. And unfortunately, I think we all have pretty good examples of this at this point that, MAGA is where successful entertainment careers go to die. And so I don't really think this is a great career move for Nicki Minaj, but nobody really understood why she was there. I think it also kind of shows that Turning Point has really run out of ideas and policies and things about actually improving the lives of the American people. This is all about the veneer of entertainment now and pushing a culture war that I think people are exhausted by. And so Nicki Minaj goes out there with Erica Kirk. She's talking about how dashing she thinks Donald Trump is, meaning I don't know if that means she's never seen a photo of Donald Trump, but then she also started talking about how great she thinks JD Vance is, and while she's talking to Erica Kirk, makes one of the most awkward slip-ups of the weekend. Let's take a look at that.
And you have amazing role models like the assassin JD Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine.
I mean, I can't imagine being Erica Kirk in that moment and having to think, oh my God, how do I respond to someone who just called the man I'm about to endorse for president in 2028 an assassin, given the context of why people are there. But it happened. And, to Erica's credit, she kind of brushed it off. But I think it just shows that, Nicki Minaj is not paying attention to any of this stuff. She is joining in on the grift. There's sort of this rumor online that Nicki Minaj is trying to score pardons for members of her family for crimes they've been convicted of. And she knows that Trump has created this transactional culture within MAGA, that if you praise him and lend your power and your abilities, then he will scratch your back as well, even if the person he's pardoning or doing favors for is blatantly guilty of things that normal Americans like us would be going to prison for. And so I think for the interesting thing of all this is there were all these kind of, again, celebrities whose careers have fallen off a cliff, who are there trying to add quote unquote star power. And then you have these, conservative thought leaders as well, obviously including the vice president of the United States, JD Vance, who so desperately wants the power of the Turning Point USA organization behind him as he tries to go into a presidential run in 2028. The problem is he has to say insane things to get these people to like him, including this gem that he said during his speech over the weekend. Let's take a look at it.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
And that's what this movement has become at this point. It is completely devoid of actual policy positions and values, and it is 100% reliant on culture war BS, grievance politics, and rage baiting. And unfortunately, when you're an organization that is not actually offering any solutions to people, then people start to see the grifting for what it is, which is what this whole weekend ended up being about. And, you had people hawking merch and the tickets were expensive, and you had stuff like this take place, which you almost have to see to believe. I will show you a clip from one of the props they had from the Turning Point USA conference over the weekend. Let's take a look at what that prop was.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it. You can.
Yes, you have people taking selfies under a replica tent that Charlie Kirk was shot under. That is grossly inappropriate. It does not, they claim to be honoring Charlie Kirk's legacy. I don't know how anybody could look at that with a straight face and say, wow, that really, I'm a big Turning Point USA fan and a staunch conservative and Charlie Kirk fan, and I think that honors his legacy. It's laughable. And so you see these things happen. It is an obvious grift. Even Erica Kirk herself couldn't help herself from slipping up a little bit when she was talking to and introducing the president of the UVU, Turning Point USA president, at this conference, which is where Charlie Kirk was shot. She's introducing him, and she had a little bit of a slip of the tongue. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
Despite the devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same gift. Grit. It has been a long day. Trust me, you're not a grifter, honey. It's all good.
And look, first of all, I think the backtracking made it more uncomfortable than had she just kept going and introducing him. But even she knows deep down that this whole weekend felt like a grift that had no constructive conclusion to it. It wasn't like people left knowing any more clearly what conservatism or MAGA is for anymore. It was just about the shine and showmanship of this weekend. And what was interesting about all of this is this used to be a display of unity. It is not anymore. Across the weekend, all of these conservative pundits were ripping each other to shreds on stage. Megyn Kelly was calling out Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was doing that as well. Steve Bannon was calling out Ben Shapiro as well. It was all of this infighting every time these people would get up on stage. And so these attendees probably have no idea who to listen to because they're getting conflicting narratives on everything from tariffs to policy with Israel, to our foreign entanglements, to all of these core things that people used to be pretty unified on within this world. They're not anymore, and it is making the figureheads of this movement lash out at each other, and it is ripping this movement into smaller shreds. And they can't do that. If this part of MAGA world, the people who show up into Turning Point USA fracture into 10 different factions, it's not going to be a movement with any sort of power or influence whatsoever, maybe for the benefit of us all at least. But what's interesting is other MAGA influencers took a look at what happened over the weekend and sort of also saw this for what it was and saw it as an organization taking advantage of, people who have been brainwashed in order to keep taking money from them. And this is what conservative podcaster Tim Dillon had to say about it after he saw what was going on at Turning Point USA this weekend. Let's take a look.
This is deeply unsettling to a lot of people. it feels like you're being played. You feel it. It seems off. You feel like this is a coordinated and choreographed spectacle so that you are played. They want your money.
And what he's saying is true. I mean, look, obviously the people who are at that conference are lost causes at this point. They are 3 glasses of Kool-Aid into this whole thing. And unfortunately, they've been brainwashed, and they're vulnerable people who have been brainwashed, and now they're being taken advantage of. But for other kind of standard, normal conservatives, I think sometimes they used to tolerate this type of behavior from people on the far right and in MAGA world because they thought that maybe there was some sort of a policy win for them at the end of the day that would improve their life. Now, after a year of Donald Trump, they are seeing that the policies are unpopular and that the policies Donald Trump has implemented aren't helping anybody's life. And so they are now frustrated with the president, and now they are frustrated with this cohort of people that seem more interested in taking advantage of vulnerable people to enrich themselves than they are in actually proposing solutions, even conservative solutions that they think would improve people's lives. And as that keeps happening, and as conservatives keep seeing the fact that these people have no interest in helping them and their only interest is cashing their next paycheck using the money that these people have given to them, I think we are going to keep seeing this turning point MAGA world fall flat on its face in front of the American people. That is it for me today. If you liked what you saw, throw a like on this video, follow the Demwins Media YouTube channel, follow me at buildingthebench.substack.com, and we will keep bringing you the news as you need to see it. Thanks for watching.